Okay, how's everybody doing? It's Monday. Shall we get started? Let's get them purple demon faces going. It's gonna be a really interesting topic today. Jan doesn't have any badges. It's true. I'm gonna explain that in just a little bit. We're actually really close there. All right, and 3 and 2 and 1, and here we go, and big face. And hello everybody, my name is Jan Erickson, of course, and today is Monday. We stream today. We stream on Mondays. We stream on, let me turn the music down. We stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We've been doing this for almost 2 months now, this hardcore streaming, which is going fantastically. And so Claudia mentioned badges and super chats. So I've met all requirements to get my channel monetized and to have those features, except for just one last one, and it's public watch hours. You have to have 4,000 public watch hours within a year. So if it moves, like, it goes from like August to August, and then it moves over a month to September, you get what I mean. I think I said that wrong. But anyways, so I checked today, and because we've been live streaming so much this month, like, it's really kicked up. We are almost to the finish line, honeys. We are at just over 3,700 public watch hours out of 4,000. So we just need like 300 more, and I bet you $1 million, $1 million bazillion dollars, that we will reach that like within the next month. Definitely by the end of the year at the rate we're going. So yeah, we'll be there soon. Then we won't be like such little tiny people anymore. We'll have like this full super channel and everything like that. So, and I can start loading up like the emojis and things like that, and we can have all the fun stuff, and we can offer memberships through YouTube for those who would prefer a YouTube membership versus the Patreon membership. I do have a Patreon if you're interested in that. Patreon.com/Jan Erickson Official, and then subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you sign up for my Patreon, you can get access to our Discord server where you can have more one-on-one time with me and have discussions and stuff. And quiet out there! I'm gonna have to take away the bird treats. I think the crows are having a little too much fun. Sorry. The birds. I put out bird suet, and there's a couple of crows like out there fussing over it, and they don't just like eat it. They have to like tinker around and like fuss with the plate and move stuff around and then fight over it. And anyways, enough about the birds. So today I just want to talk about social concepts, and not define, like, laying them out, just talking about what it is exactly. And I've been really wanting to watch or feature some philosophy tube, so I found that on Social Constructs. I'm just like, this is great, and it's a short one, but it's a good one. It's full of lots of information, and I love how she has explained what a social construct is in a very simplistic way, because some of these concepts are really hard to wrap your head around, especially when you get down to the actual understanding. Oh, I'm sorry, Akiko. Yeah, if you're having trouble getting access to the Discord, message me. And speaking of people, let's say hello. I see Hope, good to see you. I see Mark Vanderpool here as our moderator. Thank you so much. I see Hope. I see Angela Ducat. Good to see you. Lisa, good to see you. Heretical Response. Claudia, good to see you. Cassidy. everybody. Oh, and Cassie's here as our moderator as well. Hello, Cassie. I see Perry. Good to see you. Everybody's here. Anyways, if the crows outside keep being noisy, I will have to go out there and they might catch the end of my broomstick. I don't know. Get out of here, you little rascals. The crows I got are just like a couple of goofballs. They're always around my yard, tinkering with things. Yes, Mark's the mod of the month. We have asked Mark kindly, not just me, but I believe, yes, the Hyperion source as well. And Mark has kindly offered his services. We are very appreciative of that. Oh, hello, Zero. Zero's listening. Zero's, being a lurker. Some people like to be lurkers. We call them lurkers when they just want to, like, listen. So you do, like, the little looky eyes. Just lurking. I lurk, too. I lurk on my own stuff. I'm my own biggest lurker. I have to lurk at me every day in the mirror. Anyways. And crow stalking. No, it's true. They will probably... They have... no, it wasn't a crow. I had a scrub jay, you know, like a blue jay, but it's more specifically a scrub jay, actually, like, steal one of my rocks out of my planted pots. And it was, like, a nice rock because it was a nice piece of jade I found on the coast of California. So I'm like, you stole my rock! Like, straight up stole my rock because I had no food. They're actually very demanding. It's kind of traumatizing. Anyways. Let's go to our viewing content. Now, this is Philosophy Tube. I love Philosophy Tube, and I'm going to be pausing this quite often just to, like, either reiterate things or talk about the Hyperion sort of aspect of it. So, why should we wait for more people to come in? Or are we good to go? Are we good to go, or should we wait? I can wait. God damn, I love these grapefruit seltzers. They're so good. It's the only flavor I like, just grapefruit. Like nothing else. It all tastes weird. Perry says 5 minutes. Claudia's good to go. Cassie says, let's go. Mistress Angelica, hello. Oh, Shadow Therapy, good to know, thank you. Shadow Therapy is heretical response, just switching around. Little switchy poo. Hello, Maria Seedling. It is hot and muggy. I don't know what it's like for other people around the globe right now, but it is tremendously hot and muggy where I'm at right now. Beep be doop. Alright, should we go? Should we do it? Should we get going? Let's get going. It feels hot and tropically, like a tropic storm is coming. I think we're having our series of El Niños or whatever coming up, or storm systems, which means it'll probably rain like a whole year's worth of rain in like one day, which sucks when it's really dry in California and we do get a massive rain. It just turns into endless landslides of just mud and dirt and just sliding all around. It sucks. I like desert weather. I know a lot of people think I'm crazy. They're like, why are you crazy? I'm like, no, I love it. Like, I should be in like Arizona or something, like where it's nice and dry and hot. Because I'm part lizard, I guess. Lucifer. Ari, good to see you. I don't know if anybody else has like chronic pain problems. There's something about like it being muggy and humid like that just makes it feel worse. But when it's nice and dry, it's like anyways. So, let's watch a little Philosophy Tube. I love Philosophy Tube. Philosophy Tube is incredibly insightful, and I actually have not seen the brand new one about art yet. I've been meaning to do that. It's humid where I'm at. We're talking like 90% humid, honeys. Poof. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, hello, hello. Anyways, let's stop the music. And let's get on with our program today. So we're just going to talk about what a social construct is. We're going to listen to Philosophy Tube and her lovely simplified way to explain things and just make it make sense. I don't know. There's a lot of just concepts like philosophical terms and things like that. And it gets hard to understand sometimes. There are some things and terms and words like I have to spend a ton of time on just figuring out what it actually means before I could even figure out how it's used in a bigger, broader like theory or concept or thing or blah. Words. Word soup. Okay. And of course we'll have let me turn up the thing. We are in the car shop. We're in the car shop. Look at those fucking hills.
Hi, my name's Abigail. I've just been doing a little bit of body modification work. Welcome to Philosophy Tube. Every now and again when I'm out and about in the world, I'll see somebody say something and immediately think, that's got to be an episode of the show. Usually it's somebody very passionately defending a philosophical viewpoint without necessarily realizing the depth of what they are saying.
Yeah, I feel that too. I feel like I get a lot of inspiration for live streams and stuff. A lot of it's like controversial things people will say, like a lot of religious figures and cult figures and like political figures, things like that. That's kind of like how it starts. Is I'll see something going on the internet, and it's just like, oh, that's interesting. Let's unpack that. Let's dive into that a little bit further.
And to me, that's like the bat signal. I'd grab my tools and I'd go to work. I want to pop the hood on what they've said and take a look at all the philosophy inside. And today, I have found a doozy. There's a British website called Mumsnet. It's a forum for parents. And a while ago, there was a thread that started with, "Mother is a social construct. Discuss." And one lady wrote, "Carrying and birthing my child was not a social construct." And I saw that and I was like, Philosophy Tube time, baby. This lady...
Yeah. Yep. That's interesting. Of course, that's a really juicy freaking topic to start a thread on, like, immediately. Just be like, mother is a social construct, discuss. And then somebody being like, I'm not a fucking construct. Like, interesting. So already off the bat, it's like, well, what are we gonna talk? What's the social construct first? Is what I'm thinking. Like, I feel like we have to define what that is before we can figure out if mother fits into that or not. And also beyond that, like, what is mother? And exactly. So that this is things that are being said that are just two short sentences, but it's massive. Like, we really have to unpack this.
Lady was actually making a metaphysical claim. Metaphysics is the bit of philosophy that broadly looks at existence. So, if ethics is, how do I be a good driver? And aesthetics is, how do I make my car look cool? Metaphysics is, what are cars? What are they made of? How do they work? If you were to take a class, you might look at things like causation, free will, space, and time. I once had a metaphysics lecture where the professor argued that time does not exist, which was very funny because, no joke, he turned up 10 minutes late. So when I saw that
time does not exist. Yes, it does.
Comment, I wondered two things. Firstly, what is a social construct? And secondly, why do people sometimes have such strong feelings about them?
Yeah. What is a social construct, and why do sometimes people have, like, a lot of feelings about it? I think this definitely plays into identity, what we identify as. You know, I first and foremost I am a monad. Like, I am an eternal being. So we all are. That's why we're mindful monad. That's why I call you all dear monads. We are all at our very base a monad, which is a more appropriate term for something that's more spiritually described as a soul. So, moving right along. Yes, we just started, so don't you worry. Plus, there will always be the replay. What? Do you have another video or window open that may be missing with your sound? No. Is the sound bad? Hi, Susan. Is my sound bad? Is it too low? Is the thing too low or too high? No. No? No. No. Sound is good. Sound is good. The video is lower than me. Okay, I'll just boost it up a little bit. I try hard not to have it too low or too high so that if I talk while she's talking, like, you can hear it. Okay. Let's test this. How's this? Give me a thumbs up if this is good.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Social constructs, baby. Created by Abigail Thorne. Abigail is so fantastic. Watch her channel, subscribe to her channel, do it today. Oh, we're good. Okay, thank you all. Let's talk about a social construct.
Philosophers draw a useful distinction between an object and its properties. This car is silver. It has the property being silver. I could paint it a different color, take that property away, give it a new one, but it would still be the same object.
So right now we're talking about objects and properties of such objects. Properties of objects. Objects, a thing, and then properties of it. Things about it. Besides its actual, like, base.
Might well wonder, how many of the properties can we take away before the object is gone? If I give this car new paint, new engine, new brakes, new electricals, is it still the same car? That's the kind of question a metaphysician would think about. For now, though, you understand this distinction between an object and its properties. And there's different kinds of properties too. Some we would say are intrinsic. That means you can't really separate the object from the property.
Okay, so intrinsic is something you can't separate it from. Wait, how was that said again? I think it's really okay. Pay attention to this whole intrinsic thing. Pay attention. Pay attention. No, I don't know why I'm yelling at you.
New engine, new brakes, new electricals. Is it still the same car? That's the kind of question a metaphysician would think about. For now, though, you understand this distinction between an object and its properties. And there's different kinds of properties too.
Okay, different kinds of properties. I see what's being said here.
Some we would say are intrinsic. That means you can't really separate the object from the property.
Okay, so an intrinsic property of an object is something that you can't separate from them. But there's kinds of properties that you can separate from an object.
It's an intrinsic property of triangles that they have 3 sides. If you take that away, it's not a triangle anymore.
Exactly.
Others we would say are relational. This car has the property being next to me. But if I move, then it doesn't have that property anymore, because it depends on my location. If this car was my favorite, we would say that it has the property being my favorite, which is not only relational, but depends on my feelings rather than my location.
Okay, so we're talking about something that properties that are intrinsic, they can't be separated from the object, and then those are just kind of like relational, where they can, in a sense, they can change. You can switch them around.
And now, here's the million-dollar question. What kind of property are things like being a woman, being a man, being black, white, gay, straight, whatever? Are they intrinsic? Are they relational? Are they something else? What do they depend on? They are pretty important.
Yes, these are all things that we live with every day. But do we think about them beyond what they are? Do we think about them being intrinsic to us or more relational? It's a lot of interesting things to think, and it's also thoughts that I know a lot of people are afraid to think about, or it just makes them angry, or they just can't. They don't want to think about that because ultimately they believe what they are. They believe in all of their relational properties and stuff.
Guarantee that properties like that have shaped your entire life. They've sure as hell shaped mine. So, what the heck are they? In offering my theory of social categories, the aim is to reveal the cogs and belts and arrangements of parts in machines that often are oppressive. To start solving this puzzle, we can do something that philosophers love. And if you enjoy this, then you should absolutely study metaphysics, because this is like half of it. Imagine another Earth called Earth 2. And on Earth 2, they have all the same ideas we do about sex and race and gender, all those same categories, but they also have an extra one called Schmite. Schmite is very simple. There's 2 kinds of people on Earth 2, bigs and minis. Bigs is any adult over 5 feet tall, and minis is anyone under. And let's say that whether you're a big or a mini really affects your life on Earth too. Like if you're a big, you can get a better job, you can get a nicer house, you're allowed to marry whoever you like. If you're a mini, life is hard. Suppose we were to meet the people of Earth 2.
Over 5 feet is a big, and under 5 feet is a mini or a small. I guess I'm a big, because I'm 5'6". Yes, I'm 5'6".
And we said, Schmite is just a social construct. Being a big or being a mini, those are clearly relational properties. They depend on how other people feel about you. They might say, no, it's not. It's not about feelings. It's objectively observable. Look, I have a tape measure. I can tell whether someone is a big or a mini. Reaching tall things on my shelf is not a f***ing social construct. But we might come back and say, okay, yeah, you can measure somebody's height.
Interesting. I love the way she's going about this.
Nobody's denying that. But what we're driving at is, why do you care? Mm-hmm. Why have you constructed your social systems around this feature?
Thank you. I'm like she's here to hear me, but no, thank you for that. Why have you constructed your social systems around this one feature? There are like uh, the constructs for what a woman is or isn't. That is a social construct. It's the social system in which we operate, which isn't always black and white. It's not. So it's kind of a weird thing to get into. This is kind of tough for me to explain too, so I'm kind of like challenging myself a little bit with this. Like, I understand it in my head, but trying to explain it into words is a whole different ballgame. But I just have to practice, so bear with me. That's why this one's pretty short and sweet.
Maybe you've got a good reason for it, but on Earth 1, we don't do that. We have the property being tall, but we don't have the property being a big or being a mini. So you guys must have invented them. And all the Earth 2 people will be like, you guys are weird. Meanwhile, the people of Earth 0 are looking at us going, whoa, what's all this stuff about race and sex? I mean, we understand skin color and reproductive organs, yeah, we're not erasing anybody's biology or anything like that, but you guys divided your whole population and you based your whole society around this? Why? And maybe we'd say, well, it's evolutionary psychology, you know? On Earth 1, some of us can carry children, some of us can't, so we evolve different societal roles, and we make that distinction. Carrying and birthing a child is not a f***ing social construct. And they might go, okay, yeah, but what about Mother's Day cards? I mean, are you seriously telling me that you evolved to buy each other those? Get out of town.
Yeah.
There's definitely some aspects of being a mother that you've invented. I mean, there's nature, you've got your natural properties, yeah? But then you guys, you've added a whole bunch of stuff on top of that. You're doing augmented reality like projecting extra properties onto the world. On Earth 0, we don't have any of that. We've just got the natural properties, no additives. And then suddenly, in come the people from Earth -1. And they're like, whoa, hold on there. What's all this stuff about natural properties? The only reason that the people of Earth 2 bother to measure height, the only reason they have a concept of height, is because they care about schmite.
Schmite.
The act of measuring someone's height isn't a neutral thing that happens before they get assigned big or mini.
Yeah, that's true. The act of measuring height isn't a natural thing, so.
When you measure something, you're already assuming that there is something there worth measuring. So these supposedly objective natural properties of yours are also social construct.
In Hyperianism, we always talk about like how at our very base we're monads, and I believe me and Susan touched on this a little bit in one of the live streams. I can't remember which one, about how like at the very base of us we are monads, and then as we experience reality in these human bodies, I mean, that adds on a thing. Okay, now we're in a human body, and then it's like, then it's just these layers of extra descriptors to us that add on, and you start to get into it where it is a social thing. It's a way for people to identify and categorize each other. But at the base, we are just monads. Like, at the base, I'm just a monad. I'm in a human body. I'm a non-binary trans person. I have a job. I'm a manager. I'm a YouTuber. I'm a friend. I'm a child, you know. I have my mother, my birth mother, that I'm good contact with. So... yeah, all these different add-ons.
It's not augmented reality, it's full VR, son. On Earth -1, we don't have any of that. We're all just vibing. Presumably.
I want to be on Earth -1. Earth -1 sounds awesome.
Life on those other Earths would look a little bit different. If you were walking around Earth 2, you'd see signs with like bigs only and stuff. Because social constructs shape our environment. Suppose we took a whole city of people here on Earth 1 and we erased their memories so they didn't know about sex and race. Would they reinvent those categories when they saw their environment?
Yeah.
Would they look at public toilets and go, oh, hey, there's 2 different spaces here? But in our homes, we've only got one. What's up with that? Would they go, oh, hey, we've got darker skin and we all live on the bad side of town where the houses aren't as nice? Why? Our social constructs have shaped our environment, which in turn reinforce our social constructs.
Yep.
I think that was an episode of Star Trek, actually. So we've identified...
That was actually several episodes of Star Trek. I feel like that's like Star Trek Next Generation all over.
This whole layer of reality, which really affects our lives, but which we seem to be just inventing, at least to some extent. So, what is going on?
Alright, on to part 2. Is this making sense? It makes sense to me. I just don't think I'm explaining it well, and obviously she's doing the best job of explaining it. Oh, hello. We got some new people coming in. Hello, everybody who just came in. Hello, hello. Yes, I love philosophy, says Susan. Susan says, yes, I love philosophy too. Me too. Let's watch.
If you ask 3 philosophers how social constructs work, you'll get 4 theories. So we're going to look at one by a philosopher called Oshta. She's Icelandic, so she only has one name. I chose it not because I have any particular attachment to it, but because I think it's interesting, and it'll give you a flavor for how philosophers tackle these questions. It goes like this. Suppose that you're watching a game of baseball, which, if you've never heard of it, is like cricket, but it's even worse. The guy who throws the ball, the bowler, he throws it towards home wicket where the batsman is, and he hits it. And the bowler has to throw the ball within a certain zone. And if he gets it in the zone and the batsman misses, that's called a strike. And if you get 3 strikes, then you're out. But it has to be in the zone. If he throws it up here, then it doesn't count. And if it's very close to the zone, all the spectators go, oh my God, was that a strike? And then the umpire has to decide. Oshta says there are natural properties about the trajectory of the ball. She calls them underlying properties or base properties. So she's thinking more augmented reality than full VR.
Yeah.
The umpire is trying to keep track of those underlying properties, and in order to do so, he confers the social property, being a strike, onto the pitch when he says, strike 1. So according to Oshta, being a strike is a social construct that serves some purpose in the game by keeping track of the ball's underlying properties.
Okay. I just want to hear that one last, not the whole baseball, just that last sentence there.
The umpire is trying to keep track of those underlying properties, and in order to do so, he confers the social property, being a strike, onto the pitch when he says, strike 1. So according to Oshta, being a strike is a social construct that serves some purpose in the game by keeping track of the ball's underlying properties.
Yeah, okay.
Similarly, on Earth 2, being a big is a social construct that serves a purpose in a social game by keeping track of people's
I think that's what's really like making this click together, at least for me, is just the idea that this is into something that's like functional, that's involving like lots of people. So think of it like a game, which we often refer to, being in this holo sort of like a game, a very serious game, but like a game. It's like a video game almost.
Each of us has a lot of features, and only some of them matter socially in a particular context. Examples: I'm 168 centimeters tall and have shoe size 39. I have short hair and I'm wearing black pants. I speak English with an Icelandic accent. I'm extremely nearsighted, have moss green eyes and pale skin, breasts, broad shoulders. Some of these features matter socially in a context. Others do not. What is it for a feature of you or me to matter socially in a context? The answer I give is, a feature is socially significant in a context in which people taken to have the feature get conferred onto them a social status. That last bit is important. Baseball's one thing, people are another. Properties like being a woman, being a man, a mother, black, white, that's not a game. That's your life.
Yeah.
Consider the property being cool in the context of a high school. If you're cool, you might be able to get away with stuff that other people can't. But at the same time, there could be expectations on you that might be stifling.
I've never
It's
been
a lot
cool.
of pressure being cool, I imagine. It's pretty clear how you get a strike in baseball. It's less clear how you become cool.
How do we get cool? How do we get cool, everybody? I'm so worried about this now. We're not cool enough.
Because there aren't really any rules.
Yeah, there isn't. How do you get cool? Like, what's the, like, where? What cool? Cool how? Cool now?
People just start treating you differently and you thereby acquire coolness. Nobody really decides it either. There's no umpire at the school gates going, "You're cool." It's just the community
No, but bouncers at dance clubs totally do that shit.
decides to confer coolness on you or not, maybe even unconsciously. In baseball, the umpire was trying to keep track of the underlying properties of the ball's trajectory. On Earth 2, they were trying to keep track of the underlying property of height. But what is the underlying property of being cool? Well, there probably isn't just one, right? It's probably like a vague bunch of things, like wearing the right clothes and having the right attitude, liking the right
Cassie says, well, I don't care about being cool. That makes me cool, right? No.
music. It's not really a set list, and you don't have to have all of them.
Cassie's like my best friend from like grade school, so I'm just sometimes we joke back and forth. Don't worry. I see Mark. People are gonna be like, leave Cassie alone.
Philosophers actually have a word for this vague bunch. It's called a homeostatic property cluster. It comes from biology. Think about a word like mammals. Mammals have a whole bunch of properties.
Yes, they
have
do.
warm blood, we produce milk, we give birth to live offspring, and if an animal has enough of those properties, we say, okay,
That's a mammal.
But it's not a hard and fast list. The duck-billed platypus
It's true. We were so not cool in school.
lays eggs, but it's definitely a mammal. Who decided that? Is there a platypus umpire?
No, there's a group
No,
of scientists.
sadly. It's the community again, the scientific community.
Yes.
The philosopher Richard Boyd says the whole point of classifying animals is to be able to predict and explain things about them. That's the science game, if you like. And that's why homeostatic property clusters are so useful. Properties in the cluster tend to occur together in nature, either because having one causes you to have the rest, or because there's some underlying mechanism that causes them to occur side by side. So, if you know that an animal has warm blood and it gives birth to live offspring, you can predict X, Y, and Z about it because the properties tend to occur together. When European scientists first encountered the platypus, they were confused. Some people thought they were faking. Others thought they belonged in a category all their own, until they realized they had so many of the other properties in the mammal cluster that if you want to win the science game, you've got to classify them as mammals. On Earth 0, there are no mammals. They know about warm-blooded animals, yeah, but mammal is a social construct that we use to keep track of certain underlying properties. And on Earth 0, they play the science game differently, so they don't use that social construct. On Earth -1, they don't even have the underlying properties. They're all just like, bro, have you seen these platypuses? These things are adorable.
Platypus time. We have now entered platypus time. Let's see. So many people talking about cool. Let's see. Imaginista. Hey, Imaginista. It's like awkward and cool is my gig. Maria, the school isn't cool. Angela says, I never cared about being cool, to be honest. I think I did. I think I definitely did. But no more than, like, any other, like, average child. What is it that the Grandpa Simpson says? Like, I used to know what it is, and now what it is isn't what's it anymore. And now what it is now is weird and scary to me. Oh yeah, I used to be with it, but now I don't know what it is anymore. And now whatever it is weird and scary to me. Used to be with it. Aw, thanks, mistress.
Remember earlier on, I was talking about how the high school community confers the property of coolness on you? Or the scientific community conferred the property of mammal on the platypus?
Somebody please confer the property of coolness on me, please. Can't just somebody confer that? I did. I did have Flock of Seagulls hair, and it was like a decade past its time.
What if communities disagree? What if someone was like, actually, the only important thing for deciding whether an animal is a mammal is whether or not it lays eggs?
Mark's like, you kids aren't that old. Well, that's what I was meant by, like, it was a decade past its time. I was like an 80s kid, like, in my day, but, like, I wasn't, like, an actual, like, kid in the 80s. I mean, I was born in the 80s, but I loved 80s music and 80s style, like, so fucking much. Like, I must have just been there at the end of my life. I mean, obviously, I was born in 1988, so maybe I died in the 80s, and I was like, I'm gonna come right back because this shit is awesome. And I just did not have the chance to rock those hairdos, so I'm almost 35. I mean, I'm not old, but I'm not young either.
What if the anime club think that you're really cool, but the Quidditch team don't?
Mark's like, I rocked in the 80s. I bet you did. Fuck yeah. Wait, what was your joke? Why don't you make like a flock of seagulls and run so far away? I like your joke. I like your joke. I like the joke. Everybody laugh. No. Okay, laughing time over.
Are you cool? Or not? Ashta says, there is literally no answer to that. There are underlying properties about you, but the social property of coolness and what exactly is in the cluster we're attempting to track depends on the game we're trying to play, which might not matter so much for being cool, but there could be...
So when you watch her videos, you'll notice like up in the top right hand corner, she'll do like references to books and things of where she's getting this information, which is a great way to be led into reading other books and stuff.
Some other social properties where it might really affect your life if somebody refused to confer them on you. We've been talking today about baseball and platypuses, but obviously what we're really talking about is sex and race and gender and all that good stuff.
All that tough stuff.
When I wrote the script, I deliberately went a bit more abstract with it because sometimes when we talk about social constructs, people get really angry.
And see, this is why, like, I was kind of teetering on the idea of talking about a social construct, but this is what, like, won me into, like, watching her talk about it, because she was doing it in such a way that's bringing it down to the point of just explaining what a social construct is so that we can understand it better. Because, you know, if you start using examples like, well, what is a woman? What is this? What is that? People do get really angry. They get really fired up and they don't want to listen. And so it's really sad, I think, because this is a really good conversation. I think this is some really good, important stuff that people need to understand about themselves and their place within society and how we shape ourselves as a society.
Like, remember earlier on, I talked about social constructs being full VR rather than augmented reality? That was a reference to a philosopher called Judith Butler. They wrote a famous book in the 90s called Gender Trouble, in which they argued that sex is a social construct, as opposed to a biological natural property. It's a pretty fascinating book. It spawned a lot of interesting philosophy. Maybe we could talk about it in detail another time. But people get so angry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, people protest Judith Butler, which is wild. I mean, nobody ever protested Socrates.
Yeah.
Everybody loved him. Unfortunately, some of the people who get angry about social constructs aren't really making a philosophical argument so much as they are trying to rationalize a dislike of trans people. Especially in my country, the debate about who does and does not have the property, being a woman or being a man, isn't really about metaphysics. It's just a kind of proxy way of deciding whether people like me get healthcare and human rights, which is a shame. I mean, I think this philosophy is kind of interesting on its own.
Yeah.
I wish we could talk about it without
that.
I said up top that social constructs are built into our environment, and the way we think about our environment facilitates different kinds of engagement with it. For instance, say you take your car in to have the airbags replaced after they've gone off, and the mechanic says, "Why did the airbags go off?" And you say, "Well, an onboard sensor measured a deceleration of greater than average braking speed, and that sent an electrical current along a circuit to a heating element, triggering a chemical reaction releasing nitrogen gas." The mechanic might say, "Okay, but why did the airbags go off?" And you say, "I had 19 pints and crashed into a wall." If you give that first explanation about sensors and nitrogen, well, then I guess we just have to fit another airbag. But if you give the second explanation about drunk driving, well, now we need to talk about your insurance. Depending on how you explain the problem, different solutions present themselves. When we talk about social constructs, the implication is that the constructs aren't fixed. We could change the stuff that we projected onto the world if we wanted to. At the very least, we could ask, why are we projecting this stuff? Whose interests does it serve? There's an inherent possibility of changing society here, which is therefore inherently political, and that can be pretty scary.
Yeah.
For instance, consider that the gay rights movement in my country leant hard on the idea of born this way. The idea that homosexuality is innate and therefore can't be right or wrong. We can imagine that on Earth 3, they made a different argument. More like, whether it's innate or not, it's not the government's business. Like a personal freedom line.
Yeah.
I'm not saying either approach is better. I'm just saying we can imagine a world in which the meaning of gay is socially constructed differently. But if you say to a gay person, "Hey, you know homosexuality? That's just a social construct," we might be like, "Whoa, what are you saying?"
Mm-hmm.
Because the concept of gay rights is built on top of it. So it's worth remembering that we aren't really talking about baseball and platypuses.
No.
We're talking about people, and therefore questions of justice arise in how we should apply this metaphysics. If Oshta is right, and man and woman are socially constructed categories that we apply in order to track some underlying cluster of natural properties, we might then ask, if we're playing the justice game, what should be in that cluster? And, separate but related question, what should the law say about it? I deliberately chose non-controversial examples today to help you get a grasp of the metaphysics without getting bogged down in questions of justice.
And that's why I really like this. I really like this because I really would love to just take a step back and be like, hey, what are we actually talking about here when we say things are socially constructed?
Or pushing my own views. But it's worth remembering that that is an artificial separation. When you leave the classroom, politics and metaphysics will come at you at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just doing philosophy for the hell of it. We are tinkering with the engine of the world here. So drive safe.
Nice, yay! Perfect. And that, I believe the rest of this is just credits and stuff. So yeah, so there we have it. We have a small lesson today on social constructs. Not really getting into different kinds of social constructs, but just understanding what it is. So, and just sort of taking a minute to take the justice aspect out of it, like what should be and what shouldn't be. Like, let's just back up and get our basics down. You know, sometimes I feel like that's so important to do, and that helps us understand these more heated arguments better. And she's right. There is so much into politics, and politics being things that determine our lives, like how we can and can't live our lives. It's determining what social constructs are better than others, or what we can and can't have, or who we can be and who we can't be, and splitting hairs and splitting hairs and splitting hairs and splitting hairs and running around in circles. It's important to take philosophy and help us understand things better. So, as we move forward to talk about things in the future, when we talk about social constructs, we now have a better understanding, and we can reference people to Abigail's video and then coming back to this live stream as well. So, anyways, let's turn our music back on and wrap it up. Today was a short one, but a good one. And just so you know, Morg is still live streaming tonight, I believe. I don't know. Maybe. I have not seen any news yet. I assume. So, let's see. Where's our music? Okay. Let's just fast forward a bunch of these. Okay. Let's get back to our crowd here. All right. Oh, thank you, Cassidy. I'm glad y'all liked it. Liked it. Awesome stream. Thank you. Love the stream. Great topic. Philosophy is like covert therapy. In a way. In a way. I think just being able to understand things better helps you just with your general confidence in interacting in the world. That's why I really love philosophy. I love talking about these issues and, you know, learning about things. Having a better understanding helps me be a better Hyperion and work on myself. And yeah, please follow, please subscribe to Abigail for future content of hers. She's incredibly talented. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, everyone. Scorpy, thank you for coming. Angela, thank you for coming. Yes, Lisa. Hyperion Frequency, thank you for coming. Perry. Lucifer, thank you for coming. And, oh, thank our moderators. Thank you very much, moderators. Cassie, Susan, and, Mark. Sorry, I don't know why I just... I was gonna call you Mike for a minute. I'm like, you have never in the history of ever been Mike. You've always been Mark. So, Mark, Cassie, and Susan, thank you so much for your time. And, let's see, Maria Seedling, Imaginista, Elise. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you. Dahlia, good to see you. Thank you for coming. Mistress Angelica, thank you for coming. Tyler, thank you for coming. Everybody, thank you for coming. Heretical Response. All right, okay, so next stream will be on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Subject to be announced. So, yeah, take care, everybody. And remember, you can subscribe to my Patreon, patreon.com/JanEricksonOfficial. Get access to the Discord server. If you're struggling to get access to that, please let me know. I will help you. And, yeah. Till then, we will see you on Wednesday. Bye, everybody. I'm a demon.
demon.